Hey guys, this is Forsaken Reality here with the 19th episode of the RPG tutorial series. In this episode, we're going to finish setting up the combat component, and we're also going to fix a couple bugs that are the control rotation is currently not actually replicated to all clients, so I'll be fixing that, and I'll also be fixing a collision issue with the camera bumping into AI and players' capsules. So without further ado, we'll get into that. So in the last episode, we just set up the basics for the combat component just to show that it would work. So now we're going to begin by we're going to open up our combat component. So we're going to be setting up a few things in here. And we're also going to open up our character component because this is where a lot of the functions that we're going to move over currently are. So in our combat component, we want to first we're going to grab the variables for combat out of here. So we just drag all these and get them. We're like slowly going down on a slant. So now that we have all these, we want to select all of them and Control C and copy them. And we can just delete those off of here and compile. And then we're just going to paste them in the event graph, Control V, or right click and paste, Control V. Paste them all in here. And in our combat component. And then we're going to create all these variables. Now this component will be able to use it with our AI as well, so it'll save us having to repetitively create all this stuff and have basically do double the work later on. So you want to, now that we have all these created, you can delete all these, and for our can attack, you want to compile, just set this to true for now because we haven't actually set that up to do much else, to be activated and deactivated. We'll set that up later on when we do the equipping and unequipping of our weapons and such. So now we have all of our variables in place. First, we'll get the attack function. We're not going to move the stance. So we'll get the attack function and copy everything in here. Then we'll head over to our combat component and attack. Paste this in. We already have most of our variables created. We have a different reference for our held item. When we pick up an item, this reference is set to the item we're holding. Remember, through our event graph, this event gets called right here and sets the held item when we pick it up. So we can just replace that and also place it right here. Compile and save. So that's our attack function moved over. Next we'll get our chain attack. Control copy this, Control C, and then chain attack. I think that's what that one was. Yep. And Control V to paste this in here. And it automatically switches to the combat component for that. So that's good. And reset attack. Control C. Set attack. Control B. So that's our functions moved over. We haven't deleted these yet because there's several references, and we'll have to look. We'll change those up by searching for them through here. So now that we have that done, we are also going to go to our master character. And from here, just going to open my master character. Now we need to start replacing references to the character component with the comment component for the variables we created. For example, first we'll just search. Make it a little bit easier. We'll just right click and find references, and it brings them all up. And anything that has max walk speed still in there, it's not part of the combat component. Anything that will be part of the combat component in our input graph. This isn't. First person isn't. Can run is not. Stance is not. Stance is not. Can attack is. So here's our first one. I'm going to grab our combat component, search for can attack. Get that, and then plug that in like there, that. And then we want to continue on down the list. Here's another one. So light attack. Heavy attack. Continue on. Chain attack. Set chain attack. Set light attack. Set heavy attack. We're going to check the same ones, so light attack and chain attack. And you can delete this and replace it with this. So now we'll play the chain light attacks from the combat component to get our checks. And down here we need light attack and heavy attack, so we can simply just copy these two and those. We made those as well. Paste this right here like this. And just move this in a little more. And that's already set up properly, so you just delete. Move this up. Plug it into false. Just gonna put that around that. And we'll do the same thing down here, but we'll just grab these. Copy. And paste right here like this, and then we'll just take light attack and then turn on the heavy attack. So this one's for the attack checks. Let's remove this, and now we have our checks for heavy attacks and heavy chain attacks coming from combat component. And we can just paste this in again and remove the chain attacks. Tick off light attack and tick on heavy attack. Plug that in right there. delete this. And there's also two more right here that we can do for the attack. We get our combat component and search for attack. Delete this. And we can copy this, paste it right here. Just replace that. And there's still a few more we're going to need to replace. I'm just going to continue on down the list. This is actually one right here. Character components. We want the combat component to get the light attack checks and our heavy attack checks. This will also make more sense than using our character component to store things, because it just makes more sense that the combat component has everything for the combat. It'll also make it easier. You'll be able to move your combat system easily between different projects, and you can just simply move this over. And you have all the variables, all the functions, and everything there, and then you're just setting it up in the character again. You don't need to like all this is already created. All this is created in the component. You're just creating the branch in this, and then calling it all. Combat component. So that should be everything there. Continue on down the list. So it doesn't go to anything. That means we've already replaced it. Don't want the stance, but we do want the can attack. Get the combat component, search for can attack, plug that in like that. The control rotation can stay there. Weapon equipped is the combat component. Oh, I gotta set the weapon equipped. And we can hold control and drag this down like this. And then delete this. That sets the equip when you pick up a weapon. We're going to set this to true. Running is character. X these values the character, and the control rotation is the character. Now that we're actually at the control rotation in your replication graph, we're actually going to want to fix something here, because when we look up and down, it's not replicated on the client. So we just want to create a custom event. We call this multicast. Control rotation. We just want to grab this, copy it, paste it. And we actually don't need all of these. We only need the X. And we'll plug the target in. And then we'll call multicast control rotation. You notice there's a second target that's just a target to yourself, and this is a target for your component. So you want to plug this into here, and it'll create a target for your component, and then your rotation, and then you want to multicast and set as reliable, and that should be that. to make some room, put this in here. And go to our input graph just so I can check. Yeah, it's doing this on the server. And for the target, you want to get your character component. So you just plug that in like that. And now everything should work properly. Just going to double check. That's how I have it actually set up. Yep. And as you can see, we can both look down. So that's that issue right there fixed. Now I'll head back to the combat component stuff. So now I'm pretty sure we've replaced all the references here that we needed to. It's a good idea to run down through it again. I'm just clicking it quick because I know that I did. Just being safe. Save all. Now there's some more references for this in our animation blueprint. So I believe, yes, or in our animation blueprint, we want to open this up and let's find references to our character. And everywhere it's getting the character reference. So right here, we have the character component. Want to drag out, we got our combat component. So now we have this one in here. Coming from our combat component, and the reset attack is also from our combat component. And we'll search reset attack. Control and drag this down. And we can delete these. And the chain attack is also from the combat component. Let's get combat component, chain attack, control, click and drag. And there we go. And we have an error. Oh, I did this wrong. So for playing animation, we'll drag out and click set animation playing. Keep it false. There we go. So now that we have this done in here, it's gonna test. I don't think that it's going to work yet, or maybe it will. Okay. Okay, yeah, that actually is about it for the combat component. Now we have this set up, and the way we actually have it set up is that there's no references to the character specifically in here, so we can actually put this on our AI. We don't have combat set up within our AI, but we'll have access to everything to set it up. So for example, you want to go to your AI, master AI, and just dragging that over. Apparently I have my combat component in here already. Just want to add components and combat component. If you haven't added it already. And there we have access to everything, so we can just drag this out. And we already know that it's sending the AI to the combat component. We can get all the functions that we need. Run them. Now that we have our combat components set up, we can go to our character component, start. I'm just going to save all first. Fix up redirectors, but I didn't need to, so I'm going to my character component. And I'm going to start removing these 3 that I don't need here. So that's 3 of those gone. I'm just going to test it to make sure everything's working fine still. Yep. Now we can start removing our combat stuff, variables, since they're not using our character component anymore. Compile, save that, save all. And I'm going to do one more test just to be 100% sure everything's working. And everything is not working. This is what I mean. It's not chaining through. And the first problem is right here. In our animation blueprint, we want to get our character reference. Move this outputs over some more. Set weapon. Oh, we want to get our character reference, combat, component, and set weapon equipped. We can hold Alt and click 2 of these. Or sorry, we don't want to set, we want to get weapon equipped. And then we'll plug that into our set weapon equipped that's here already. And then we can delete this one because it doesn't exist in the character component anymore. It's going to drag this out, make it its own. Actually, no, I'll just leave that right there for now. Okay, now that we have that done, I think there's some more in our items, holdable, master holdable. Yeah. So our chain attacks are not being performed, so we need to get our character reference, combat component. Always at the bottom. Chain light attack. And I'm actually going to copy this because I'm going to use it several more times. Chain light attack, delete this. Another one right here. And below that, and below that. And for our set chain light attack, we can just paste this, remove this, set chain light attack them. For the first one, we'll put a 1. And I can delete this. Now, so Control C and copy this. And delete this one. Put a 2. And we'll delete this. Put that 0. So our sets our chain attack variable to 0. And I think that's it for the light attacks. Oh no, we got one more. Let's copy this up right here and paste it. So we're getting a chain attack from the combat component of the character. And another one right here. Combat component. Last attack. So it's setting if it's the last attack or not. So it knows to reset things. Set that true. I think that's it for the light attacks. No, heavy attacks. So out of the character here, combat component. Combat component. Come on. Combat component. Chain heavy attack. I have a lot of typos here today. Delete these. I'm going to copy all this, Control C. Come back to that light attack, or last attack. The switch, we'll plug the chain heavy attack in. Copy both of those, Control C. Last attack, set last attack, true. Control and drag. And we delete all 3 of those. And I'm going to select and Control C this again because I want some more. Right there, right there, right there. So now I have the chain heavy attacks plugged in. There's actually one more of these right here. Just at the bottom of the server play montages, which compares the current ID of the heavy attack to the ID of the heavy melee animation that plays that specific animation. And now we just have these, so Control V, we'll delete this, set heavy chain attack to 1. So the first time I play is it'll set it to 1, so that when it comes through here at 1, it'll run through 1, 2, then you'll do your next attack and it'll come through, reset it to 0. So it's a 3 combo, and in the previous video I actually showed you a way to set up more. You can just keep continuing on, adding more to your array. That's all you really need to do. Create another one of these, obviously. So anyway, we'll delete this. Control C that. Plug it in. So now let's set it to 2. Delete this. Control V. And reset it to 0. And I think there may be actually one more location, or two more locations. So under act, any weapon you made that you decided to set up your combos in, then do it for that one. Right here, you'll also get an error when you're trying to combo between. So you want to Control V if you already had it, or drag it up here and get your combat component. And then from there, get chain heavy attack. Delete this. And what variable? That was a 0. And delete this. Copy this. That's 1. So if light attacks are playing, if the first light attack plays, it will set heavy attack to 0. If the second light attack plays and you decide to try to do a heavy attack, then it'll set it to 1. So it'll do the second heavy attack in the array instead of the first. So you can light attack, and then heavy attack will do the second one, and then you can light attack or heavy attack again, and it'll, depending on what one you do, it'll set it. For example, if you wanted it to like continue the chain, you could just get your light attack and continue, and like light attack. And you'd also set this one to you set it to 2. So it would play the next animation if you decided to do a light attack afterwards. But that's just more, you want to get more into complex comboing between light and chain attacks. And you can play around with that. Anyway, we're gonna delete this combat component. I'm gonna copy this. And from here, we're gonna set light attack. This one gets set to 0, I believe was. Control Z to go back. It was actually 1. I'll just copy this and set it to 2. So if you're doing heavy attacks, it will also set light attack IDs with specific weapons. And that should be it. Yep. Should go damaging. Yep. So that'll be it for this video. The combat component is finished up for now. If you liked the video, feel free to subscribe and hit the like button. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below, or join my Discord and I can help you there as well. And I'll see you all in the next video.